So in my last video, I discussed some of the philosophy behind why I'm an anti-theist, as well as went over some of the beliefs held by a contemporary philosopher who I share these beliefs with. But today, I want to address one of the most common questions I get asked on any anti-theist video I make, which is, what's actually harmful about religion? I have an old video that kind of roughly goes over this, but it's not one that I think is well done enough for me to point towards it as a resource, so this is somewhat of a remake and somewhat of its own video. But let's just get into it. So before I continue, I want to give the little disclaimer and explanation of anti-theism that I always do at the start of these videos. Anti-theism is not a belief that religion should be banned. It is the belief that religion is inherently harmful. I do not believe banning religion is a solution to any of these problems. If you want to know what I do believe is a solution, there'll be a card in the corner as well as a link in the description to a video where I go in depth on that topic. I'm going to start out with a bit more depth on what I discussed in my last video. That religion, or more broadly belief without proof, creates philosophical and epistemic inconsistency. To hold a belief in any religion, you must lower what standard of evidence must be met before you choose to believe something, as there's no evidence for any religious belief. There are two main outcomes from this, both of which can be harmful in their own ways. One, you become philosophically inconsistent, which is both not really how you do philosophy, as well as creates a level of defensiveness and insecurity that I'll discuss in a moment. Or two, you remain philosophically consistent and lower your standard of evidence for all other beliefs you hold as well. Both of these things can cause harm in different ways. In the case of the first scenario, this results in a level of insecurity around your beliefs. Whether this is felt for full force as something that people would often describe as culminating in a crisis of faith, or it manifests more passively, it's damaging to both individuals as well as productive discussion surrounding belief, philosophy, and science. Many individuals in this category are responsible for the kind of, well, that's just what I believe, or respect my religion, deflection response when met with criticism or just questions surrounding their theological positions. While this may seem harmless on the surface, I personally believe that this is only due to the normalization of this type of statement. These phrases are a way to shut down criticism and therefore any critical thought being applied to their belief system, which not only creates echo chambers that stunt personal growth, curiosity and innovation, and critical thought for the individual, but also harms the people around them, as many others are expected to keep any questioning or criticism of a belief that may be hurting them to themselves, and puts up a barrier to stopping things that often stem from these beliefs, such as homophobia, forcing the beliefs on others, influence on government, or the theology in itself being harmful, such as ideas about purity culture such as hijabs and modesty doctrine, or ideas such as original sin that create self-loathing and fear. It's essentially a stop button on critical thinking and a stop button on addressing societal harms perpetuated by their beliefs and theology. It also necessitates that others who may disagree, even when respectful, must engage in and validate the beliefs that they deem to be harmful or contrary to their own, regardless of the merits to their criticism, while the religious person is allowed to publicly share any belief that they hold, which creates a double standard. In the case of the second outcome, in which people lower their standard for belief overall but remain consistent in that, we get explanations for why conspiratorial thinking is so much higher among religious communities. It's much more common to see religious people, often including people outside Christianity or Islam, such as some areas of New Age spirituality or witchcraft, to hold beliefs that contradict modern medical science, things such as anti-vaxxers, alternative healing such as essential oils and crystals, COVID denialism, and even outright denying the viability of modern medicine as a whole. Obviously, these things are harmful in that they cause physical bodily harm by denying available medical treatment, and that can extend to children or animals under these people's care, as well as disregard for public safety by putting disabled and immunocompromised people at risk through careless action. It also manifests as bigotry, beliefs surrounding homophobia and transphobia, as well as misogyny and purity culture, which are common in both Christian and Muslim communities, as well as other religions. I have an entire video about how religion was used to rally people around anti-abortion causes by invoking racist beliefs held among Christians. And we can see evidently that QAnon is predominantly religious, as well as some MAGA groups genuinely believing Trump to be sent by God. These areas, ranging from bigotry to medical abuse to politics, all feed off of an underlying dismissal of holding evidence-based beliefs, and even in categories that may seem wholly divorced from religious belief, such as anti-vax sentiments, are more common among religious people. To sum up my first problem, not requiring evidence for your beliefs either results in philosophical inconsistencies that stunt personal and societal growth and enable bigotry, or allows a door to be opened to hold much more visibly harmful and untrue beliefs. To move on, this next point is almost the exact opposite of Pascal's wager. For those who don't know, Pascal's wager is mainly used colloquially as such. If I believe in God and he's not real, I lose nothing. If you don't believe in God and he is real, you suffer for eternity. Now, there's a lot of refutations that I could give to Pascal's wager beyond what I'm going to discuss here, but that's a topic for another video. My main point in bringing it up is the idea that you lose nothing by being religious, which I find to be frankly absurd. Pretty much all religions place some level of arbitrary restrictions on victimless, harmless actions, whether that be following a specific diet such as halal or kosher, not having sex before marriage, abstaining from alcohol, caffeine, or other substances, following modesty doctrine, be it in the case of hijabs or prairie dresses, women being denied careers or pressured into having children, the list could go on. These things obviously range from small inconveniences like not eating pork to birthing a whole school's worth of children when you may not have wanted any in the first place. But the point regardless is that religion forces people into making choices they would not have made otherwise. While obviously things such as abstaining from alcohol can be good, or people may genuinely want to be housewives with 6 kids, religion removes the component of choice in those actions. So even though some people may make those choices on their own, there are many people who are guilted, scared, or pressured into making those choices by a god they deem to be infallible. Even some people who may have made those choices willingly can be subject to the fear and guilt that comes along with them, simply by being exposed to the same rhetoric. This, again, removes the aspect of personal choice, and I think most people can agree that having autonomy to make your own choices so long as they don't harm others is a good thing, and it's a good thing that is restricted by religious belief. The last issue is that of coping. Many people use the explanation that while religion may be untrue, it helps people cope with fear of death or the unknown. I do not believe this to be healthy or productive in any capacity. For one, I do not believe that something being unfavorable means that it is to be accepted as untrue simply out of discomfort. This comes back to the first point I made in the video, so I'll leave it at that, but beyond that, when using religion to cope with death, I think it impedes on the grieving process. You are essentially stuck at denial. There is no truth to the statement that this person will be seen again or that they are physically able to be with you, and as such removes any ability to accept that they are gone and proceed to move on or understand that their death is finite. It may also come back to the issue of making choices, and where since you believe that this person is plausibly going to be seen again in the afterlife if you follow your religion and get to heaven, you will make choices you wouldn't have otherwise made, and attempt to achieve an unachievable goal, that of seeing the person again. Aside from this, it can also impact how you treat living people. It's by no means uncommon to have religious people who genuinely care about someone who's irreligious or of another faith try and convert them in order to satisfy their own need to maintain a relationship with you in death, or quote-unquote save you from their idea of hell. In regards to coping with the unknown, this essentially boils down to, God of the Gaps is good because I'd rather have a made-up answer than no answer. But this neglects that we are able to do research and find out true and correct answers, where many people have already held this untrue belief, so when presented with the correct answer, they deny things such as evolution, the CMB and Big Bang, or otherwise massive concepts throughout science. Not only does this stunt the curiosity and ingenuity required to make these discoveries, as they believe they already have an answer and don't need to find one, it can also result in outright denying what science we do know. It's not better to make up an answer in the face of discomfort, and learning to be okay with saying I don't know often progresses into an I don't know, so let's find out. But you must be able to admit that you don't know something before you can seek out a true answer. I tried to avoid discussing anything specific to one religion or type of religion in this video, which is why I only briefly touched upon homophobia and otherwise bigotry that's perpetuated by a lot of religious communities. But it's worth noting that even when individual religious people do not hold these bigoted beliefs, by fighting for the truth of their religion, they are enabling and upholding a system that does widely perpetuate bigotry. Even if they themselves do not personally support the bigotry, they are lending validity to the belief system that upholds it. I have a lot more I could say about each of these topics, and if anyone is interested in any of them, I'd be happy to make a video diving into them individually, but I hope that this served as a useful overview of my own perspective of the topic. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ha de. I stare at the populace in prayer.